done a Facebook Live today, but I thought I've been thinking about a few things, and I thought I'll hop on and just share what the thoughts were fresh in my mind. There's a saying, I think Bob Proctor has said this, in Napoleon Hill. When an idea comes, you have to gaff it there and then, otherwise it's going to go like a fish, otherwise a slippery fish at that, otherwise it's going to go away forever, right? So I thought, why not? So my question on this Facebook Live is, where are you going to go next? Now, obviously, half the world, if not the whole world, is on lockdown. I think some places are starting to ease up a little bit, letting people start to congregate in small numbers. But for the most part of the world, I think we're still all in lockdown. And of course, those that have a traveling bug may be getting very impatient, ready to travel. Perhaps you've traveled, perhaps you've been to different parts of the world. I know that I have had the opportunity to visit Tahiti. I've had the opportunity to visit Paris on different occasions. Perhaps if you live in South America or in the United States, you might have been to Europe. You might have visited us here in Australia. But it's interesting, right? So let's say, I guess, I know what I want to talk about today. I haven't really structured the thoughts because I want them to flow as they come. I think that usually works best for me when I do that. But I wanted to get into character, right? So if you know me, you know that I'm a pretty straightforward guy. I'm not too fancy in most things, but you notice I've got my Hawaiian shirt, and I've done that for impact, just to get into state. But I wanted to ask this, I guess, well, before I ask, you might have traveled on holidays, and isn't there a difference between traveling on holidays and actually moving somewhere permanently? Now, I've been on holidays. I wasn't born in Australia. I was just having a chat with somebody here, a new friend, and I was sharing that I was born in South America, in Colombia, and I've lived here in Australia since '86. Actually, was the last time I came. I won't tell you how old I am because that'll give everything away. But nonetheless, there's a difference between visiting and actually living somewhere permanently. And so the question I want to ask is this: when you go somewhere on holidays, it's fun. Everything's a new experience and it feels amazing. But it's a whole different experience when you move somewhere permanently, right? Because everything starts to become familiar. But let's say that you weren't happy in the current place that you're living at. Let's say and some people don't get to travel internationally. They get to travel nationally. So if you're in the States, I've met people and spoken and coached people in the States who've never left the home or the city or the town, a town of 5,000 people where they were born. They've never moved out of there. They've never been anywhere. Other people have traveled everywhere. But let's say that you wanted to move states. You wanted to, no longer live where you are. You want to go to a different state. Let's say you live in New York, where you've got snow in December, and you're tired of the snow, and you want to live in California. Let's say Los Angeles or San Diego or something like that. Or maybe Vegas, right, where it's really hot. Would you just move there? Would you just pack up all your stuff and say, that's it, I've had it with the cold, I'm going to California? Or would you actually start to do some research and think about, well, I wonder what the weather is like. Is it like that all year round? Or are there seasons? Like in Melbourne, we have 4 seasons. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you have them all in one day. It's one thing we're known for here in Melbourne. But would you look at that? Would you look at, what are the seasons like? What's the economy like there? What are the job prospects like? What are the opportunities? Unless you've got a home business where you work from the computer, in which case it wouldn't matter too much. But for most people that don't do that, so you might be thinking about, job prospects, the economy. You might be thinking about what sort of schools for the children, if you've got kids that are going to school, universities. You'll be doing a whole lot of research to understand where you're moving to before you actually go there, right? You wouldn't just pack up and go. And so let's say that the day comes and you actually decide, I am going to go. You pack your stuff and now you're driving, right? So you're going to do this. You're going to do this on the road, right? You're not going to fly over. And you start to drive away from the state that you're living. Every minute, every hour, you're further and further away from the place you left. And now all your hopes are in the place of where you're going to. And you may start to feel emotionally connected with the excitement, that honeymoon phase of, I can't wait to get there. This is what I'm going to do. This is how things are going to be. New opportunities, new lifestyle, change of pace or whatever it may be, right? So pretty exciting, right? When you think about it. Now, what does this have to do with what I'm talking about? what about states? What about if you are living in a state, and I don't mean about a physical state now, I mean in an emotional state that you are no longer happy with? What about if you're living in a circumstantial state of maybe not having enough cash flow, not enough funds, or maybe you're tired of being overweight, unhealthy, or always lacking energy. Maybe you're tired of a state where you are constantly attracting relationships that don't really serve you or support you, and you're always finding that you're frustrated and you're angry and things are not working out. What if you lived in a state like that? It may be different, right? There's different states. Maybe one of them is California, maybe one's Texas, whatever. But there's all these different states, and we can experience one or more of them within ourselves. But what if you could just pack up and go? Now, you wouldn't just like in the physical situation, you wouldn't just pack up and go from one state to the next. So if you're going to go from being, let's say in my case, so one state that I've been in for a long time is being overweight. And it's a state that I've decided recently that I've left. Now, do you just pack up and go, or do you start to look at, well, what does health look like? What does it look like? Now, do I know anybody that lives in that state? And then you start to look for people that are manifesting the state that you want. Maybe that, they're at the goal weight that you want to be at. They're living the lifestyle. They're enjoying the energy levels. They're doing, the activities that you may want to do. And so you start to research just like you would if you're going to physically move from one state to another, right? And that's what you will do. So you start to, and then you start to find out, well, which state better serves me? So some people achieve an outcome by doing things a certain way, and others doing it a different way. So you got to find out which is the way that makes the most sense for you. But once you've decided what that is, whether it be, like I'm going to use weight as the example, because I know most people, especially with lockdown, most people are sort of putting on a little bit of weight, unless they've got very strong routines and they're wanting to, get back and make those shifts. But if you've decided that you're going to move state, and I'm talking about your emotional state now, not physical state, not location as in country or wherever you live, but emotional state, then what can help you possibly, which is what's helped me, is understand that there's a process of actually leaving. So once you make that decision to leave, whenever you're pulled back because of a memory to, like, it's like, quick example, like we came from South America, so we grew up with certain foods, and sometimes certain smells bring back memories, and you're like, oh, I wish I could eat that. I wish I remember when I used to, to do that or whatever. And then you find that people come to Australia from all sorts of different countries, and immediately they're looking for the foods that they used to eat wherever they're at, instead of just assimilating to the foods that we eat in this country, in Australia. It might be in wherever country you're in, right? It's what we do as human beings. But what if as you left, you start to realize, well, that's now behind me. And every minute, every second, every hour that goes by of every day, I'm moving closer to the state that I'm looking forward to living in, right? And that state might be health, is the example that I'm giving you here. And so whenever you're reminded through paradigm, programming, conditioning to go and do something, like maybe head to the fridge for a snack or a sweet or a carb or whatever it might be, whatever you're used to, maybe you just remind yourself, hang on a second, I don't live in that state anymore. I've left that state, and that state is behind me a day or 2 days. I've been on the road for 2 days already. I can't have what I used to have. And as a mental, exercise, you find that the longer you get away, the more distant that becomes, and the more permanent the shift can start to be for you in that state. So that's what I found is working for me as a difference. And it is a mental game that you're playing, but this is actually scientific, because if you look at what some of the mentors, teachers have taught way back, even from the 1900s, I'm talking about recent stuff. People like Neville Goddard, for example, he talks about occupying a state. Now, so I hope you get the point here. So let's go back to the example of physically moving. So let's say that I wanted to live in Hawaii, and I live currently in California or whatever. Then I'll be so excited that I'll put on a Hawaiian shirt, and now I actually start to occupy physically Hawaii in my mind by maintaining the assumption that I'm already in Hawaii, right? And so I feel like I'm in Hawaii, and I'm excited, and I'm in that vibration of being in that new state. And so this is the very thing that you can do with your emotional, with your mental states. You can decide what is the state that I want to be in, and you can nurture that. Now, the best time to nurture that image of that new state is before you go to bed, where you start to live from the state. So if I was going to Hawaii, I am now living from Hawaii because I'm seeing myself wearing a Hawaiian shirt. You must say, but that's just one thing. But it doesn't matter, right? The fact is, I'm actually, from a mind's point of view, I'm in Hawaii because I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt and I feel like what Hawaii looks like. I've done the research, I've seen the people, I've seen the culture, I've seen the waves, I've seen everything. So it's easier for me to mentally occupy the state that I want to move into by allowing myself to feel as if I'm already there. So I just want to encourage you, right? If there's a state that you're not happy with right now, whether it be relationships, money, health, wealth, business, job, whatever, it's not about quitting it, but it's about just mentally starting to familiarize yourself like you want to know. And I was reading something from Neville Goddard that I get access to, and there was an example of saying there's a difference between knowing something and having an experience of something. And the example that was given was, I know Richard Branson, but I know of him, but I don't really know him. Right? So I know where Hawaii is, but I haven't really lived there, so I don't know. So the more I can familiarize myself with the destination that I want to occupy, the easier it is for my mind to operate from that place instead of thinking about that place. Because the moment I start thinking of Hawaii, I'm just constantly reaffirming to myself that I'm not in Hawaii. If I constantly look in the mirror and remind myself of how overweight I am, I'm reminding myself that I am not in my goal state. Right? So give away the scale, give away the tape measure, give away the fat measurements and calipers and all that sort of stuff. And I just start to live. Now I'm doing something that I've decided is the way that I want to get to the state that I want to get to. So I've chosen my route to get there. And every minute I'm further and further away from where I'm going. But it's exciting. And I just remind myself, hey, I don't live there anymore. I've decided to move from that state for a reason, because it wasn't serving me anymore. I'm excited to live in this new state called health, right? And energy and vitality and confidence and all the things that come, which is going to be different for different people. So this might sound like a little bit of a roundabout, live message, but if you've been living in a state that you're not happy in, then I think you'll get it, and I think it'll make a difference for you if you just allow yourself to familiarize yourself with the destination that you want to go to in an emotional state. It might be you want more money in the bank account. It might be that you want a bigger team if you're in network marketing or a home business. It may be that you want better relationships in your life. You might want better relationships with your spouse, your partner, your children, your parents, your friends, whatever it may be. Know what it looks like to have that, so you can get a sense of the experience. Now, you might have traveled there before on holidays, right? Which means you might have experienced it in little short bursts, like losing weight. You might have lost weight. Now, I've lost weight in the past. I got to a really good weight, and I was very fit and healthy and strong. I was working out every day at 5 a.m. at muscles and all that sort of stuff. But now that was just a distant memory, because that was just a trip. So we're talking about no longer making small trips, but we're now making a permanent shift. So we're actually packing our bags, right? Leaving behind whatever we don't want to take with us, like travel, and make a new home in the new state where everything's a new opportunity, and see what happens from there. So that's all I wanted to say. I wore my shirt for impact, so you get a sense of what it's like. If you're going to be there, be there. Don't think of it, think from it, right? Live in the end, as Neville Goddard says. And you can do that from anything, right? You can do that from exercise or whatever. Just imagine yourself. And the biggest thing is to deny your senses, to suspend disbelief, as we say, because your eyes are going to trick you. Now, there's a saying that you don't see with your eyes, you see through your eyes, whatever's programmed. So you have to shift the image internally so that what you start to experience physically is different, right? And as you go to bed, allow yourself to start to imagine yourself in that state, not of what it would be like to be there, but actually you are already there looking back, right? You're looking back here. You're not looking forward towards that, right? That's the biggest difference. Hope that serves you today. Let me know. Hey, Rebecca, thanks for being here. Mandy, good to see you. Got a couple of people. That's awesome. And if you're watching the replay, just leave a comment. I hope it makes a difference for you as well. Any questions, reach out. If you want me to expand a little bit further, I'm happy to. I'm sharing my personal experience because that is my life journey. And I think that's probably just, more authentic to really talk about the fact that we all have challenges. No one's perfect. I'm not perfect by any means. But I know what I deal with, and I know what I want, and I know that if I'm experiencing it, I'm not alone. Right? So if that's you, I hope that it serves you, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care and have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.